Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the What a Relief episode today. We're going to be discussing 1 year in of Palestine. With me today is Fara Amir, who's been reporting about what's been going on in Palestine through our marketing team for the past year. And we look forward to discussing all things Palestine and the ways that you as a supporter can help right after this. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to What a Relief with Islamic Relief USA. I'm Asila Borno, your host for today, and we are talking all things Palestine 1 year in and elections and our Go Vote campaign. Fariha, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I think this is the first time I've had you on, so I'm excited.
Yes, I'm usually behind the camera.
Yeah, but I wanted to pull you because you've been in the minutia of the details of reporting out to our supporters about what's been going on in Gaza in the past year.
Yes.
Our entire marketing team really is the one that gets to see all the images and takes all the videos and probably some of the hardest work that we've had to do on Palestine, because while other people get to see it sort of on their reel, on their Instagram, and they can put it away, we in the humanitarian sector, we're in it day in and day out. And Freya, my family is in Gaza, and so it's been a really difficult year. It's been really heart-wrenching to be watching what's happening to our families and to feel like there's very little that we can do. So I have family that's in the north, and for a very long time they were experiencing extreme famine. And famine is, less than 600 calories a day. I have family in the north, in the south, in Rafah, who again may have had access to humanitarian goods at the time, but Rafah has been closed for the past few months, and we know that nothing is coming in and out of Rafah. And I had cousins in the middle who were able to actually evacuate to Egypt. And I've talked about this with our supporters and our audience before, and just that resettlement in Egypt and what that looks like and how that's been really difficult and unexpected. And in our last episode, when we were talking about refugee resettlement, turns out that it's actually very similar to what happens to refugees in the United States, unless there's organizations like Islamic Relief who can help to offset the costs of resettlement. And our partner at the time, Hanan Refugees, the CEO, Sheila Badwan, was here, and she was very thankful to Islamic Relief. And I think I would say that our beneficiaries in Gaza are also still very thankful to Islamic Relief, despite how difficult it has been to get aid in. So I wanted you to, come on here today, talk me through what has Islamic Relief been able to do on the ground. I think our audience is confused because they hear things on the news that nothing is coming in, but then you see that no, but we're still fundraising and we're getting aid in. So how is that working, and what have we been able to do for this last year?
Sure. So yes, and I'm sorry to hear about your family, and I think going back to what you said, you have family, but all of us, as Muslims too, have been seeing constantly for the whole year, people in Gaza suffering, and I think. Not that it's any good, but, one thing that I've seen this year is that more and more, we have become stronger as an ummah to, combine our efforts for Palestine, all through my feed, now all I see are people supporting Palestine and, and that's all Muslims. So, that has come out of it, that has been very strong. And I think that can, inshallah, pull us out of this. But yes, in terms of Islamic Relief's work, aid is coming in, and before it was coming in through the ports that were open, through Rafah. But of course, like when things change, then we have to change where the aid is coming in from. The changing entry points, they're constantly changing. Our teams are on the ground, so they are witnessing where where they can get aid in from, and they shift their plans based on that. But we're also procuring aid locally. So whatever warehouses we had, we would pull the resources from there wherever they can get local from whether it's the West Bank or inside Gaza, wherever they can get aid in, they would procure it there. And so aid is coming in. Your aid is going in, and I think that's something that people constantly ask is how is aid is going in. So that's kind of how, and that's a lot of humanitarian work is being done like that. That it's constantly changing. We're getting new reports of projects all the time because we've had to change our projects. Before, we had a lot of development projects in Gaza, and so a lot of those funds got redirected to support the emergency efforts. So we're doing work amongst all of the emergency sectors, including food, hygiene, water and sanitation, healthcare, and then helping in the displacement efforts as well.
So talk to me a little bit about food, because I know, so Rafah has been closed for the past few months, and then we had Kerem Shalom, who they open and then they close and then they open, and then in the north we have Araz. That's another crossing that gets opened and closed. And from the latest stats that I've heard, it's between 15 to 30 trucks every day, every other day, every few days. And in those trucks, what are we able to get in terms of
Sure.
food?
So we're doing different types of food aid. So sometimes we're giving food parcels. So that includes like staple food items that we're able to give, like a box or a bag of kind of staple food items to families. We're doing fresh produce. So when that comes in, we're able to give like fresh produce to families. So we'll do fresh produce baskets. And then another way is hot meals. So we have these like very large kitchens that are making large pots of hot meals that we're then distributing in that area. So we've done this in various parts and all throughout Gaza, that we have these very large community kitchens that are making large pots of food, and then people are able to get hot meals.
Yeah. One of the things that I've seen, I mean, even my family saying that shampoo isn't allowed to come in. There's like things that are, very essential to hygiene. What have we been able to do in terms of hygiene?
So we've been able to distribute hygiene kits.
Okay.
And then also, we're bringing in clean water for families. So about 10 million liters of clean water that's the amount that we're trying to distribute. And so people are able to come to this, water point, grab the clean water and take it back.
Okay.
And so that, obviously is helping because they're not drinking the dirty water.
Yeah.
Which, has like a lot of, residual effects.
Do you know if we're functioning in all of Gaza or just parts of it?
For the clean water, I know it's in North Gaza. I think it's in one other part of Gaza as well.
Okay,
so, yeah.
All right. And then, I mean, as we know, this is probably one of the largest group of displaced people on the planet right now. I think Sudan tops Gaza, but for the number of populations. And so what have we been able to do in terms of displacement? Are we able to help with
Sure.
housing?
So yeah, with housing, we're able to distribute tents. So we've distributed tents to families. We've distributed bedding kits, mattresses, things that they need so that they can survive essentially outside of their homes. Mm-hmm. So we have been able to distribute those items. In addition to like when the winter time came, we distributed clothing as well, so that again people could live outside of their homes.
Okay. One of the things also that we do that's I think unique to Islamic Relief that other organizations may or may not be doing is we're doing a lot of mental health help, and we partner with the Mind Body Institute. And I think you have some quotes from beneficiaries who've been able to be helped.
Yeah, and this it's a very unique project. The stats out of this project are pretty amazing in that most people that go through the program, they are it helps with their PTSD, no matter maybe some people are able to get out of it completely, and some people it still helps. There's people that I read stories that they weren't really able to get out and really walk, and so after this they were able to walk. And so it's very needed, and it helps target at all groups like children, adults, male, female, and it's something that I think will be needed for many years to come, unfortunately. But yeah, I can read some of them.
Yeah, I'd love to. We love to hear firsthand accounts, lived experience.
Yeah. So this is from someone named Najwa. She's 53 years old. We faced a very harsh and terrifying war in which we experienced loss, homelessness, and displacement. As a woman, I faced great difficulties in all aspects of life when we lost our home and we were displaced from the north to the south of Gaza. The psychological support from this project has alleviated the suffering and provided us with wonderful exercises, energy, strength, and will. Praise be to God that there is a great impact in terms of my health, and I've returned to smiling again. I'm grateful for everyone who helped us be able to face our harsh circumstances.
Wow.
We can read another one. This
Yeah,
is from
please.
an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
His name is Muhammad. My nightmares scared me so much that I couldn't sleep. In addition, his mother added, Muhammad was experiencing frightening dreams that contributed to his fear of everything: loneliness, not playing with other kids, and starvation. But after attending the sessions and picking up the necessary abilities, he lost the terror inside of him, has pleasant dreams, and has grown more assimilated with other kids.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah that we are able to fund this really important project. And I think that when we think about how everything is so overwhelming in terms of the devastation and the loss, we feel like no effort is going to be enough, but truly every effort is important. And I think that it is part of our faith tradition, the Rasulullah that even no matter how hard the circumstances are, you don't sit still. You keep moving. You keep doing. You know, the hadith about that even if you know that the world is ending tomorrow, and you have a seed, you still plant it because you have to have hope, and you can't give up hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes. One of the other things that Islamic Relief has done, and we actually launched our advocacy campaign pretty much days after the war in Gaza started, we have done a grassroots advocacy efforts where we've sent around 50,000 letters to our Congress members and around 6,000 letters to the White House administration. And I think you're part of that campaign. You probably took the letters. Do you remember that? And have you been able to share that with your family and friends?
Yeah, because a lot of people ask, beyond just donating, what can I do? And so when I say, okay, sign this, and it's something so easy, it takes like 2 clicks of a button, especially with Islamic Relief. You just go on the IRUSA advocacy page, and it's just like there's just actions. You just put your name, your address, and then click, 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 and it sends the letters. And it's not necessarily like, okay, you're like, okay, this may not, he may not actually read it. Okay, yes, but if there's 6,000 of them or 40,000 of them, they will take it into consideration. Yeah, your voice will be heard. We have to continually do this to make an impact.
100%. You said it perfectly, Fariha. I'm always so proud. My advocates are like, they get it. They get the talking point that it actually does matter, even if you don't see the change. And what's happening with Gaza is an anomaly. Typically, when 60,000 letters are sent about a subject, it does move the needle in a significant way. But don't forsake what even the small percentage of the needle moving has done. We have greater awareness of the plight of the Palestinians and those in Gaza than we have ever had. And Gaza has been under siege for 17 years before the war in Gaza. Mm-hmm. This is not new. They had restricted calories. We had programming in Islamic Relief for 30 years in Gaza, right? Mm-hmm. So what's happening in Gaza is an anomaly in terms of advocacy, but it also matters because when I go to the Hill and staffers are asking me, how are things in Gaza? We don't hear from people like we used to. That's devastating because we know that the humanitarian situation has just, become the worst probably anywhere in the world. It's the most dangerous place to be a child in the world today. And so we have to do our part, if nothing else, but to continue having it on the radar of staffers and Congress members that this situation has not gotten better. It's only gotten worse, and that there are people who are going to care consistently and persistently until there's a ceasefire, until there is humanitarian relief flowing into Gaza. And so I'm glad that you've been sharing it with your family and friends and telling everybody just how easy it is to do. And I hope that, our supporters continue to support this campaign, this advocacy campaign, because it really is very, very important. And it kind of takes us to our next thing because, we are in election season. If you haven't been getting the text messages about elections, I don't know how. Tell me your trick so that I can stop getting the text messages. But, the elections are just around the corner. And because of everything that's been happening all over the world, people are feeling, just that they don't have it in them to go out and vote. But I know that you're not like that. So tell me, what is motivating you? You're going to go and vote.
Sure. So, I was just telling Asil before this that I already have my mail-in ballot and I have to do it when I go home this week, inshallah. But kind of like what we were, similar to the advocacy, if we don't have the people that we want in the office, and it doesn't have to be presidential. I'm saying local because the local elections are really, really important. Yeah. If you don't have those seats, on your school board, in your courts, in your in your Congress, in your state's Congress, you're not going to get the decisions, the things that you want for your own family, and even this stuff approved because they're not the people that agree with you. So if you really have to go out, pick the people that you think will best represent, your values and best represent the things that we want to achieve in this country. If we don't vote, then we really, can't say that okay, we took a part in the system to make a change because we didn't make a change then. Yeah. And to say that okay, no matter my vote, it's never going to change. No, it can change, and we have seen that. When people really put efforts in, and I think also goes back to making sure, not just voting, but trying to get people that you think can be leaders to stand up for elections too, to be involved in the government. Because again, if you don't have your voice in the government, then you can forget about having your ideas and your thoughts heard and implemented. Yeah,
100%. And I think that we forget that there is definitely a link between domestic policy and international policy, right? So something just off the top of my head, the Farm Bill is the prime example of policy that bridges between what happens internationally and domestically, because it is a bill that says we need to be able to fund farmers and create food security overseas internationally, and then it affects what happens domestically in terms of how we fund SNAP, right? Which is, the food stamp program that we have in the United States. They're completely linked, and that happens on the local level. Right? That happens in your state legislator. That happens with your Congress. And we kind of disassociate those two things. We think it's the president who decides everything. And that's just not the case. We, in the United States, have 3 branches of government, right? We have judicial, legislative, and executive. And the executive is the president, but we also have 2 other branches that actually decide our day-to-day lives and how they impact what happens overseas. If we forgo our opportunity to vote, we are forgoing our voice to be able to be part of a solution, exactly like what you've been saying. We've had a really good discussion about Gaza, and we came up with a video to commemorate this past year and all of the efforts that Islamic Relief has been doing to be able to help the people there. Please take a listen. Welcome back, Fariha. And, linking what's been going on with Gaza to voting is really important, because I think a lot of people have become disheartened and feel like, whatever they do doesn't matter. Many people are gearing up for their activities or have gone to many activities to commemorate the 1 year. But I always tell people that if you are going to do all these other activities but not go out to vote, it really will not make the impact that you're trying to make. And that voting is really essential in creating long-lasting peace for the region and for the world. And so we have a campaign, our Go Vote campaign. People can learn more about our Go Vote campaign by going to irusa.org/Go Vote. That'll be at the bottom of the screen. So please share it with your family and your friends. Let them know, because on that site, you can find out where your polling station is. You can find out how to get registered to vote. In many states, you can even do same-day registration. That's not true for all the states, so look it up for your state to make sure. And you can look up who's on your ballot so that you can go back and say, okay, who's running for my county board? Who's running for my local, court? Who's running for my state legislator? And see who those people are, what they stand for, and make choices based on what you believe and who will best represent your moral standings. And as humanitarians, for us, it's what helps people the most. We want to make sure that people are fed. We want to make sure that people are not experiencing poverty and that they're housed. We want to make sure that they are not displaced, right? We want to make sure that we are adopting policies that will help better protect our planet, because we know that climate change directly impacts the kind of emergencies that we're always having to respond to, whether it's flooding or earthquakes. It's directly impacted. So to make sure that we are voting our conscience and voting our beliefs and what we stand on. If there's anything that you wanted to share with people, whether it's about voting or about Gaza or about, just moving forward in terms of support for Islamic relief, what would it be?
I think one of the things is, like, a lot of people are feeling a little hopeless, so I really want to say don't despair.
Yeah.
And continue what you're doing, the posting on social media, continue your donating if you can, continue your advocacy support, because it really does matter. Even if it's 1 year, I think we have made a great impact, because like you mentioned, people know what Gaza is, where Gaza is, what Palestine is. Before that, honestly, I don't think a lot of people knew.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's a huge impact.
Yeah.
And now, unfortunately, with the way things are going in this world, we're going to have to continue, with the crisis going on in Lebanon and Yemen now. We're going to have to continue to, do advocacy efforts, continue to do humanitarian efforts. And, it all kind of helps if you vote.
Yeah, 100%, 100% Fariha. And I think just to link it also to our faith, Islamic Relief, we're a Muslim organization, Muslim-led organization, and the best example for us is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who, despite all of the adversity and all of the challenges that he faced, he continued and he persisted and he was insistent upon making sure that he was the message of rahmah to the entire world, mercy to all of mankind. And this is what we're trying to do, right? This is why we have been put on this earth, is to continue to spread the message of mercy to mankind, to have justice in this world, to make sure that we're not leaving an orphan behind, that we are not going to bed full when our neighbor is hungry, right? There are pillars of Islam that really if people understood the responsibility that we have to be living out our faith in actions, they would never hesitate to do what's right. Whether it's, they volunteering with Islamic Relief, or they're donating to Islamic Relief, or they're taking the advocacy actions. When they have so many opportunities to do good, and we try to make it as easy as possible, there's really no excuse, right? Like, make sure that you're doing your part, and inshallah, the wait for Allah's mercy is in itself ibadah. It is in itself worship. So we have to be patient and steadfast and to continue even on the hardest of days. And so just to our supporters, we want to continue to thank you for all that you do, for being there for Islamic Relief, for being there for our beneficiaries all around the world. And this election cycle and every cycle, make sure that you're going out there and making your voices heard. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum. Thank you very much.